Thank you for joining us today for In Conversation with Kestin Cornwall and Michael Lepoy.
Hello, Miigwech, bonjour. My name is Michael Lepoy, Assistant Professor of Design in the Faculty of Design in the Environmental Design and Industrial Design program.
Hi, my name is Kestin Cornwall. I'm an Assistant Professor at OCAD University in the Faculty of Design. I specialize in illustration, visual arts, graphic design, and advertising. All right, so we're recording. Go ahead.
Kaylee Meyer, congratulations. This is a wonderful moment. I think not just you and your family, but on behalf of the Caribbean, this is good. So you're repping OCAD U in the Caribbean as an alumni. So for not only for our Canadian people, but how do we get in touch with you? What's your tags, your details?
My Instagram is KAY_DADLIART. It's just K Dadley Art. I have a Facebook page that's also called, I think, Art by Kaylee or K Dadley. I'm not sure. It's linked in. I think it's linked in my Instagram. I also have a format page, and that's also linked in my Instagram, but it's Meyer-Kaylee at .format.com. And yeah, that's how you reach me.
Awesome. So good. First question is, could you describe your process? How do you work? How do you approach your work? I mean, some of us, look to theory, some look to, other inspirations. How do you work?
I tend to, I like to research. I like to read things. I like to look up what I am doing, particularly for this thesis work I did. I got the chance to go back home the semester of my thesis in December 2018. And I got a chance to go home, and I went to places that were significant to me, and I took photographs to use as reference as well as inspiration to approach a topic that I was doing. And so it kind of starts from there, and I tend to go down the rabbit hole of whatever topics I'm looking at. So I like the environment, nature, the issues that surround that. And so that's what I did for my thesis work. I also do reading. I found that being at OCAD has taught me how to use reading as a source of inspiration, as well as a guidance to how you approach the work. So yeah.
Great.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, partly, but being a Caribbean and talking about sustainability, right? And also I think climate is a big issue for us in the Caribbean, given that we're just these bunch of small island nation states,
yes.
Right? And just also kind of in my work and talking to other people outside of art and architecture design. I'm an architect. There's a great researcher, teacher, Dr. Maya Trotz, and she's one of those that tries to bring all those notions together, right, from science, engineering, and all of that. So, just to comment on that. But how was your experience? I know we talk about this off camera a bit, but for the audience, how was your experience at OCAD U for you?
It was good for the most part. I didn't really have any issues being at OCAD. I learned a lot. I met a lot of people. I enjoyed it. I do wish that I went there a bit more outside of class time. I was one of those people who kind of went from class to home. But that's one of the things that I wished I did more of. But I had a lot of great professors. I connected well with quite a few of them. And I think I don't regret taking any of my courses. I think I chose them well. And everything kind of contributed to like everything in the end. So.
Great. So further to that, how can we, the community, the OCAD community, the Black community, support your career? You know, as you move forward, and now now that you have your work permit, yay.
Well, follow me on social media. I don't post a whole ton. I usually post in my stories on Instagram mostly. And check out my work if you want to start a conversation, ask me questions. I'm not working on anything right now, and I do want to find something. I enjoy like learning from other people, and in 2018-19 I was the student group leader for the Black Students Association, and I co-curated the exhibition in 2019. And I really enjoyed that process of curating and organizing and managing the whole process. So that's something that I enjoy doing in general. So anything along those lines, I'm down to do. I mean, I'm up for anything really, but I enjoyed that as well as teaching. I did an internship for one of my courses, and I was at Ontario Science Center, and that was fun. So those are two things I know for sure that I really enjoyed doing.
Great. Before I tag to Kestin, is your work for sale?
I don't currently have any like prints or anything, and the work that I did for my thesis is not exactly what you would call not exactly for sale. No. I haven't really figured out how I would even begin to make that for sale. Because it was all collage work, and none of it was fixed permanently. I used a lot of tape and documentation to create the work. So yeah. But if somebody was interested, sure.
So if someone wanted to help you or invest in you from your community or from OCAD, how could they go about doing that? Do you have any ideas, or you're not sure?
Oh, I've never really thought about that in that sense.
Okay.
I do when I was doing my work, this thesis work, living in paradise, living in paradise 2, one of the things that I thought about when creating it was not only how it would be displayed here and how it would be taken here, but also in the environment of home in Antigua. Just because like that's the audience that not that it was necessarily targeted for, but I wanted to find a way to target both and make it accessible to both. And so that's one of the things that I hope to do in the future is when I go back home is to install this work in whatever shape or form it takes later on, and make it available to for people to see. And I think I do hope to apply to at least 1 or 2 exhibitions here. One of those things you have to like get over yourself to do. But I have never really thought about that. I mean, I'm always up for a project, or if it was commissions or to be part of something bigger, to contribute to that. I'm always willing to do things like that. But no.
Great. We had some.
I hope that answers the question.
Some people think about it. Some people are more concerned with giving and working on their work, and they haven't given the time to think about how can my community help. And that's fine, because that's part of our job, and that's part of your community's job. And then you can kind of work that out over time as well. Some people mentioned obviously investing, like finances, money, but then there's other things like I keep reiterating, and some of your classmates or some of your fellow students reiterated that there's some ways people can kind of invest in you or support you without that don't cost anything, like sharing your website or sharing your contact information or telling people about your work or visiting a show. So we want to remind everyone, and those were your 3 questions, right, Michael? Or it's my turn?
You're on.
All right. So please, if you could please tell everyone what program you took at OCAD U and how that program involves your practice or your work.
I took life studies, so I was a part of the life studies program, and that was a cross-disciplinary studio program that kind of connects like the arts, science, and humanities. So I was able to take a variety of different courses, and being able to do that contributed to how I approached my work. I got a chance to take a course called like Understanding Climate Change, and that influenced my thought process as to how I should approach my thesis work eventually. And being able to just have those options, I never really wanted to feel restricted on a studio based wise. I'd never really wanted to take things like drawing or painting. Even though I paint, I didn't want to be restricted in that because I also like to do things with my hands, which then came like that's how collage came about. I've always done things like that, and that's how my work came about. So being able to have that freedom was important to me.
That's great. Early on in your career is a great time not to limit yourself and just try as many things as possible. It's a great time to like make mistakes and learn and then try again. So I think it's smart that you work that way. For everyone listening, could you please let us know what inspires you, as well as could you give them a brief description of your work or your process?
So my work that's in GradEx is called Living in Paradise and Living in Paradise 2. And they are both collage works that are based on how human activity impacts nature. And my main inspiration for this work was my home country, Antigua, which is an island in the Caribbean. And I specifically chose to look at the ecosystems of wetlands and beaches. They are things that are very familiar to me and that I grew up seeing all the time. I love going to the beach. And so Living in Paradise are watercolor painting collages that I created to comment more on like the infrastructure and human activity and how it interferes with nature. And then Living in Paradise 2 is an installation of collage work. So I did it on the wall of my bedroom. And it was a bunch of different collages that I did. And they were to critique interconnectedness of tourism, imperialism, and neocolonialism on the environment, threats on the economy, threats to the environment and ecosystems, particular to Antigua. And my main inspiration for my work tends to come from my home country, from Antigua, as well as my love and interest for science and the environment and issues that surround the world that we live in, and I think a little bit of politics in a sense, social justice. Those are the things that kind of inspire me. And I love to research, which is also something that contributes to how I approach things.
All right, great. Great answer. Could you let us know what interests you most about what you do and your work? Like, what part about it interests you the most?
I think the research and possibilities of how to approach things. I enjoy the process of researching and seeing how the different avenues you could take. I'm not the best at like deciding on what to do sometimes, but I definitely enjoy seeing the possibilities of where something can go. Yeah, and I like to create work that starts conversation, and I think that's also something that I'm interested in, and something that I looked at while doing my thesis work is that I looked at artists that have created work that says something and that starts a conversation.
That's really interesting. There are artists that point out that it's not necessarily the artist's job to give the answer. It's more their job to commentate and ask the question. So the fact that you're settling or not trying to give a final answer, you're just trying to figure it out yourself in a lot of ways. So that's really great. Again, could you give everyone your name and any contact information or how they can find you if they wanted to?
So my name is Kaylee Meyer, and you can find me on Instagram at kdadleyart, which is KAY_DADLIART. And I do have a link tree that links to a few of my website, which is meyer-kaylee.format.com. I also have a Facebook page that kind of caters like a different demographic of people, I believe, and I think it's called Art by Kaylee. That's also linked in my bio for my Instagram, and you can contact me there. You can email me through there, send me a DM, all of those things.
Great. We like to ask twice just so everyone can hear it and they know. And just this isn't one of the questions, but I wanted to ask you, as far as your homeland, you like the beach. What's your favorite beach there?
What's my favorite beach there?
Yeah.
I don't have a one particular beach, but I do love the southwest coast. So yeah, so there's a few beaches, and that's one of the first places that I went to when I was doing my work. So there's Darkwood Beach and Turner's Beach, and those are very prevalent in my first work, Living in Paradise. And I
yeah, I can hear you now. That's weird.
Oh, that's so weird.
It's okay. We can edit that.
So my favorite places to go are on the southwest coast, and I grew up going there a lot. Turner's Beach, as well as which is also called Johnson's Point, as well as Darkwood Beach, and those two beaches are very prevalent in the work that I did. Yeah, I have a lot of other places that I go to, but those are probably my favorite places. I grew up going to Turner's Beach a lot when I was younger.
Very cool. We have another 2 minutes here. Michael, you have any questions you want to add, or we're good? We're going to call this one a wrap.
Just suggestions. There's research grants as well as other places in the Caribbean that I'm sure you could apply to residencies.
Yes.
For work, because it is unique, right? We don't really get too many creatives talking about the hard issues, right?
Yeah.
Climate
Especially
change.
like tourism.
Tourism, oh my gosh.
Definitely a slap in the face.
Absolutely, and given our circumstances now, what happens next, right? How do we pivot from that? So those are my just comments and suggestions.
Thank you very much.
Be sure to check out our next episode, blackocadu.ca. Let's go.